students. First of all, I welcome you all to my seventh video on the chapter P block elements. In the previous video, we discussed some general properties of group 16 elements, wherein we discussed physical as well as chemical properties, right? Now, the next discussion under group 16 is anomalous properties of oxygen. You know, oxygen being first element of group 16, it exhibits some properties which will be entirely different from those of the properties of the remaining elements. That's why oxygen is said to be exhibiting anomalous properties. If you want to list out the anomalous properties of oxygen, first anomalous properties, oxygen is a gas. Oxygen is a gas. But the other family members are solids. The other family members of group 16 are solids except oxygen, that is a gas. That is first anomalous property of oxygen. Second anomalous property is oxygen is diatomic. Oxygen is diatomic molecule, whereas the other family members are polyatomic molecules. Other family members are in the form of polyatomic molecules, whereas oxygen is in the form of diatomic molecule, right? This is polyatomic molecules. Other family members are polyatomic molecules. Like, sulfur is in the form of S8, selenium is in the form of Se8, tellurium is in the form of Te8. Like that, The other family members are in the form of polyatomic molecules, but oxygen in the form of, yes, it is diatomic molecule. That is one more property of, yes, it is oxygen there. Next one is, of course, the compounds of oxygen are, yes, it is more ionic than the compounds of other family members. That is compounds of oxygen are ionic, but the compounds of sulfur, selenium and tellurium, they are covalent in nature. That is, the compounds of, yes, it is, the other family members will be covalent in nature, whereas the compounds of oxygen are ionic in nature. That is, of course, fourth anomalous property is, as far as oxygen is concerned, that is, oxygen can form a strong hydrogen bonding. Oxygen can form strong hydrogen bonds with other species, whereas the other family members, they do not form hydrogen bonding. That is, they do not form hydrogen bonds with other other species. Oxygen form strong hydrogen bonds with, yes, it is, other species, whereas the other elements in the group 16, they do not form hydrogen bonds with other species. That is one more anomalous property of, yes, it is oxygen there. And apart from that, as far as oxygen is concerned, that is, one of the hydrides of oxygen is water. Yes, one of the hydrides of oxygen is, yes, it is water. Will take part in the form of intermolecular hydrogen bonding. Yes, it is. That is water. The hydride of, yes, it is oxygen will form, yes, it is, intermolecular hydrogen bonds. Whereas the hydrides of other family members, like H2S, H2Se, H2Te, like that, they do not form hydrogen bonds. Is one more anomalous property of, yes, it is oxygen there. The sixth one is diatomic oxygen molecule is paramagnetic. You proved this particular aspect in first PUC by making use of molecular orbital theory. First PUC molecular orbital theory you prove madidira. Diatomic oxygen molecule is paramagnetic, whereas the other family members are, yes, it is diamagnetic. That is other family members are diamagnetic in nature, whereas oxygen molecule is paramagnetic in nature, right? That is one more anomalous property that you can note down. Seventh one is, and as far as oxygen is concerned, the highest oxidation state of oxygen is +2. In the case of, yes, it is OF to the lane. Highest oxidation state of oxygen is +2, whereas other family members, will exhibit highest oxidation state of +6. other family members will exhibit highest oxidation state of +6 and +4 in their compounds. Okay? But oxygen will have only +2 as its highest oxidation state, because in the case of oxygen we don't find any vacant d orbitals in its valence shell. ಹೌದಾ? Oxygen ಅಲ್ಲಿ due to the absence of vacant d orbitals in its valence shell ಅಲ್ಲಿ vacant d orbitals absent ಇರೋದ್ರಿಂದ the maximum oxidation state of oxygen will be +2 there, whereas the other family members, they can exhibit the maximum oxidation state of +4 and +6 due to the presence of d orbitals in their valence shell. The ಬೇರೆ elements ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಅಂದ್ರೆ in the other family members, they are characterized by vacant d orbitals in their valence shell. Because of that, they can exhibit the highest oxidation state of +4 and +6. So these are the, yes, it is some anomalous properties that we can list out as far as oxygen is concerned. ಇವೆಲ್ಲವೂ ಕೂಡ oxygen ಇನ anomalous properties ಆಗಿರ್ತದೆ. Very important discussion for the examination point of view. Right? Any 3 anomalous properties of oxygen ಅಂತ ಕೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ನಾನು ಲಿಸ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವ್ದಾದ್ರು 3 ಪ್ರಾಪರ್ಟೀಸ್ ಅನ್ನು ಬರೆದ್ರೆ ಸಾಕು. That is what we call anomalous properties of oxygen. ಹಾಗಾದ್ರೆ what are the reasons for anomalous property ಅಂತ ನೀವು ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ, why that oxygen exhibits anomalous properties ಅಂತ ನೀವು ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ, reasons are similar to that in the case of nitrogen. Yes, nitrogen ಅಲ್ಲೂ ಕೂಡ ನಾವು ಕೆಲವು reasons ಅನ್ನು ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ವಲ್ಲ, ಅವೇ reasons ಅನ್ನು ಕೂಡ ಇಲ್ಲೂ ಕೊಡಬಹುದು. That is, one reason for the anomalous property of oxygen is, yes, it is very small size of oxygen, right? Due to the very small size of oxygen atom, it will exhibit anomalous properties. Because of that, it is characterized by very high ionization enthalpy, and of course it is characterized by very high electronegativity, and of course it doesn't have any d orbitals. Yes, it is absence of yes, it is vacant d orbitals, absence of vacant d orbitals in its valence shell. Oxygen is not characterized by any d orbitals in their valence shell due to the absence of vacant d orbitals in the valence shell. Okay, or you can say due to the absence of d orbitals andru sari, vacant yake d orbitals ilvalla, right? Due to the absence of d orbitals in its valence shell, oxygen will exhibit, yes, it is anomalous properties, right? These are the reasons. Correct agi ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆನ ಓದಿ ಆನ್ಸರ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. Write the anomalous properties of oxygen ಅಂತ ಕೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, ನಾನು ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಬರ್ತಿದ್ದೆಲ್ಲ 7 ಪ್ರಾಪರ್ಟೀಸ್, ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವ್ದಾದ್ರು 3 ಬರಿಬೇಕು. ರೀಸನ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ ಕೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಈಗ ಬರ್ದಿದ್ನಲ್ಲ ಅದನ್ನ ಬರಿಬೇಕು. ಎಸ್, so that is what we call it as the anomalous properties of oxygen. Is it not? Yes, ಅರ್ಥ ಆಯ್ತು ಅನ್ಕೋತೀನಿ. ಓಕೆನಾ? Now at this moment, we'll go to the individual discussion. First discussion is dioxygen. Yes, we have some individual discussions under, yes, it is group 16 there. Dioxygen, preparation and properties of dioxygen. Apart from that, we have ozone, then sulfur and its compounds. Now at this moment, we'll go for the dioxygen, the first discussion. Yes, and as far as oxygen is concerned, it's a colorless gas, colorless, odorless gas. And of course it is slightly soluble in water. Around 3.08 ml of oxygen will be dissolved in 100 ml of water. The solubility of oxygen in water is very, very less. Around 3.08 ml of oxygen will be dissolved in 100 ml of water. Yes, it is at about 293 kelvins. And of course, this is a vital, yes, it is factor as far as existence of aquatic life in the water is concerned. Now that aquatic life will be, yes, it is existing in water is mainly because of, yes, it is dissolved oxygen. This dissolved oxygen will be used for breathing purpose by the aquatic animals in water. ನೀರಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಇರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ aquatic animals ಏನಿದೆಯಲ್ಲ ಅವುಗಳು ಬದುಕಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಬೇಕಾದಂತ ಆಕ್ಸಿಜನ್, yes, it is dissolved oxygen present in water, and of course it is very, very small, but that is very sufficient. That is sufficient for existence of aquatic life in water. ಇದು solubility ಕಡಿಮೆ ಇದ್ರೂ ಕೂಡ this solubility is enough for the existence of, yes, it is aquatic life in animals. That is what we call it as the properties of oxygen there. And of course under dioxygen, you are supposed to study preparation of this oxygen. Yes, preparation of this oxygen in of course preparation of this oxygen. First of all, yes, it is preparation from potassium chlorate, KClO3. Preparation from potassium chlorate, KClO3. Gamanissi, the formula of potassium chlorate, K plus and of course ClO3 minus. K plus is the formula of potassium. ClO3 is the formula of yes, it is chlorate. Crisscross madidare, you are going to get potassium chlorate. Yes. When potassium chlorate is heated, yes, when potassium chlorate is decomposed in presence of manganese oxide catalyst, yes, MnO2. When potassium chlorate is heated in presence of manganese oxide catalyst, MnO2, decomposition of potassium chlorate takes place that results in the formation of oxygen gas. This is one method for the preparation of oxygen here, that is by the decomposition of potassium chlorate. Spelling note, that is potassium, yes, it is chlorate. This is what we call it as potassium chlorate. Spelling note, CHLO, or yes, it is CHLO, or yes, it is ATE. This is potassium chlorate. When potassium chlorate is heated, you are going to get potassium chloride. Make out the difference between chlorate and chloride, and with the liberation of, yes, it is oxygen gas. This is one method. And of course, MnO2, manganese oxide, is used as a catalyst. Second method is by decomposition of, yes, it is heavy metal oxides. That is oxides of heavy metals. Generally, oxides of heavy metals are unstable. You might have observed in the Ellingham diagrams, Ellingham diagrams ನೀವು ಗಮನಿಸಬಹುದು ಅನ್ಕೋತೀನಿ. ಡೆಲ್ಟಾ ಜಿ ನಾಟ್ ವರ್ಸಸ್ ಟೆಂಪರೇಚರ್ ಗ್ರಾಫ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ವಾ? ಎಸ್, ಡೆಲ್ಟಾ ಜಿ ನಾಟ್ ವರ್ಸಸ್ ಟೆಂಪರೇಚರ್ ಗ್ರಾಫ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಎಸ್ ನೀವು ನೋಡಿರಬಹುದು. ಎಸ್, ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಯು ವಿಲ್ ಫೈಂಡ್, ಎಸ್, ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಗ್ರಾಫ್ಸ್ ಲೈಕ್ ದಿಸ್, ರೈಟ್? ಓಕೆನಾ? ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಗ್ರಾಫ್ ಆಫ್, ಎಸ್, ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಮರ್ಕ್ಯುರಿಕ್ ಆಕ್ಸೈಡ್. ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಗ್ರಾಫ್ ಆಫ್ ಸಿಲ್ವರ್ ಆಕ್ಸೈಡ್. ಹೌದಾ? ಹೌದ್ ತಾನೆ? And generally you will find oxides of heavy metals will be at the top of the Ellingham diagrams. ಇದರ ಕೆಳಗಡೆ ಸುಮಾರು ಗ್ರಾಫ್ಸ್ ಬರುತ್ತೆ, but you just observe the metal oxides at the top there. They are generally heavy metal oxides. Like we have a silver oxide, that is silver oxide, and of course mercuric oxide. They are heavy metal oxides, and those metal oxides at the top of the Ellingham diagrams are very, very unstable. Therefore, when these metal oxides are heated, okay na, and they decompose to produce what we call it as silver and of course oxygen. Yes, when silver oxide is heated, decomposition of silver oxide takes place to form silver and oxygen. Balance ಮಾಡಬೇಕಲ್ಲ, ಇಲ್ಲಿ O ಇದೆ, ಹೌದಾ? ಇಲ್ಲೇನಿದೆ O2 ಇದೆ. ಅದಕ್ಕೋಸ್ಕರ ಈ 2 ಅನ್ನು ಇಲ್ಲಿ 2 ಮಾಡಬೇಕಲ್ಲ, ಅದಕ್ಕೋಸ್ಕರ 2 ಇಂದ ಮಲ್ಟಿಪ್ಲೈ ಮಾಡಿ ಆಗೇನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, O2 ಆಯ್ತು, ಸಿಲ್ವರ್ 4 ಆಯ್ತು. therefore it is 4Ag ಇದೆ. When silver oxide Ag2O, know that silver oxide Ag is a plus, oxygen is a -2. therefore crisscross ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, Ag2 ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. Yes, when silver oxide is heated, you are going to get silver metal and oxygen gas. ಇಲ್ಲೂ ಕೂಡ it decomposes to produce mercury and oxygen there. When mercuric oxide HgO is decomposed, you are going to get liquid mercury there along with the formation of oxygen. ಇಲ್ಲಿ O2 ಇದೆ, ಅದಕ್ಕೋಸ್ಕರ multiplied by 2 ಆಗೇನಾಯ್ತು 2HgO, therefore it will be 2Hg. Then when heavy metal oxides are heated, ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, decomposition takes place, right? Generally heavy metal oxides are unstable. ಅದಕ್ಕೋಸ್ಕರ heavy metal oxides ಅನ್ನ ಮಾತ್ರ ನಾವು ಡಿಕಂಪೋಸ್ ಮಾಡಿಬಿಟ್ಟು ಆಕ್ಸಿಜನ್ ನ ಪಡಿಬಹುದು. Apart from that, we have heavy metal oxide like PbO2, lead dioxide. When it is heated, it is going to produce lead oxide along with the formation of oxygen there. Yes, it is going to produce lead oxide along with the formation of, yes, it is oxygen there. PbO ಮತ್ತೆ O2 ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡಿ, when this silver oxide is heated, you are going to get silver here, but here PbO2 is giving PbO, because in the case of lead, +4 is the oxidation number, and of course +2 is also there. For lead, we have two oxidation states, +4 and +2. Out of these two, +2 is more stable. +4 ಮತ್ತು +2 ಅಲ್ಲಿ +2 ಸ್ಟೇಬಲ್ ಆಗಿರೋದ್ರಿಂದ lead peroxide ಅಥವಾ lead dioxide is converted to lead oxide. Lead dioxide is converted to, yes, it is lead oxide. ಓಕೆನಾ? ಇಲ್ಲಿ lead ಬರೋದಿಲ್ಲ, ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ +2 is more stable than +4. therefore lead dioxide is converted to lead oxide. ಹೌದಾ? So this you have to notice that. ಓಕೆನಾ? ಈಗ ಬ್ಯಾಲೆನ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಲ್ವಾ? PbO2 ಎರಡು ಆಕ್ಸಿಜನ್ ಆಟಮ್ಸ್ ಇದೆ, ಇಲ್ಲಿ 3 ಇದೆ, ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಏನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ ಆಫ್ O2 ಅಂತ ಬರ್ದ್ಬಿಡ್ತೀನಿ. ಹಾಗೇನಾಯ್ತು ಈಕ್ವೇಶನ್ ಬ್ಯಾಲೆನ್ಸ್ ಆಯ್ತು. ಫ್ರಾಕ್ಷನ್ಸ್ ಬೇಡ ಅಂದ್ರೆ you multiply this equation by 2 ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, that is lead dioxide PbO2 and that produces lead monoxide that is PbO along with the formation of O2. ನಾವು ಏನ್ ಮಾಡಿದೆ ಈಗ the whole equation is multiplied by 2 ಆದಾಗ ಇಲ್ಲಿ 2 ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ಇಲ್ಲಿ 2 ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ಇಲ್ಲಿ 2 into half ಎಷ್ಟು ಆಗುತ್ತೆ 1 ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. So this is what we call it as decomposition of acetics lead dioxide to lead oxide. Okay na. Next one is that is Pb3O4, one more oxide of lead, and of course this is mixed oxide. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಹೇಗಿರುತ್ತೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ lead will be in the form of PbO2 and 2PbO form ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. In PbO3 some amount of lead will be in the form of PbO2, some amount of lead will be in the form of 2PbO. ಎರಡು ಸೇರಿಸಿದ್ರೆ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ Pb3O4 ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. Just like in the case of magnetite, Fe3O4 ಇರುತ್ತಲ್ವಾ, magnetite ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಿದೆ Fe3O4 ಇದೆ. ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಅ ಮಿಕ್ಸ್ಡ್ ಆಕ್ಸೈಡ್ ಆಫ್ ಫೆರಸ್ ಆಕ್ಸೈಡ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಫೆರಿಕ್ ಆಕ್ಸೈಡ್. ಹೌದು ತಾನೆ, ಎರಡು ಕಂಬೈನ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ Fe3O4 ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಆ ತರ ಇದು ಕೂಡ ಮಿಕ್ಸ್ ಆಕ್ಸೈಡ್. and this Pb3O4 it's a combination of lead dioxide and lead monoxide, and that produces acetics PbO once again, and with the liberation of oxygen there. yes ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಿದೆ 3 ಇರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಮಲ್ಟಿಪ್ಲೈ ಮಾಡಿ 3 ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಎಸ್ ಆಗತ್ತಾ? ಈಗ ಏನಾಯ್ತು ಆಕ್ಸಿಜನ್ 4 ಇದೆ. ಎಸ್ ಹೌದಾ? ಇಲ್ಲೇನಿದೆ ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಆಕ್ಸಿಜನ್ ಇದೆ 5 ಇದೆ. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಏನ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕು, ಈಗ ಇದನ್ನ 2 ಆಗಿದ್ರೆ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಈಕ್ವೇಶನ್ ಬ್ಯಾಲೆನ್ಸ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಹೌದು ತಾನೆ? ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ Pb3O4 ಡಿಕಂಪೋಸ್ ಆದ್ರೆ 3PbO plus half O2 ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಈಕ್ವೇಶನ್ ಬ್ಯಾಲೆನ್ಸ್ ಆಯ್ತು. ಫ್ರಾಕ್ಷನ್ಸ್ ಬೇಡ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಮಲ್ಟಿಪ್ಲೈ ದಿಸ್ ಈಕ್ವೇಶನ್ ಬೈ 2 ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ 2Pb3O4 and of course that gives multiply ಮಾಡಿ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ 6PbO plus O2. this is what we call it as decomposition of Pb3O4 to give lead oxide, and of course with the liberation of dioxygen there. So this is another method for the preparation of acetics. Yes, it is oxygen there by the decomposition of heavy metal oxides. The heavy metal oxides like silver oxide, mercuric oxide, and of course lead dioxide, and of course one of the mixed oxides of lead, that is Pb3O4. It's a combination of Pb3O4 is what? It's a combination of acetics lead dioxide as well as lead oxide. lead dioxide ಮತ್ತು lead oxide ಎರಡು ಕಂಬೈನ್ ಆದ್ರೆ ನಿಮಗೆ Pb3O4 ಬರುತ್ತೆ. So this is what we call it as the another method for the preparation of acetics oxygen there. yes. And as far as third method is concerned, dioxygen can be prepared by the decomposition of hydrogen peroxide. Dioxygen can be prepared by decomposition of hydrogen peroxide. That is third method. Yes, you know hydrogen peroxide is H2O2, a very good source of oxygen, and that decomposed to produce acetics H2O2 and of course H2O and oxygen there. When hydrogen peroxide is decomposed, you are going to get water and oxygen there. Balance ಮಾಡಬೇಕಲ್ವಾ? and of course decomposition can be carried out in presence of platinum, finely divided metal catalyst, ಅಥವಾ catalyst can be acetics manganese oxide. Any one of these two can be used as a catalyst for the decomposition of acetics hydrogen peroxide. ಬ್ಯಾಲೆನ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಲ್ವಾ? ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಈಗ ಇಲ್ಲೇನಾಗುತ್ತೆ half O2 ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಹೌದಾ? equation is balanced. ಅಥವಾ you multiply that whole equation by 2 ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ 2H2O2, and of course in presence of platinum you are going to get 2H2O and of course oxygen there. So this is another method. And of course when hydrogen peroxide, this is hydrogen peroxide. yes, when hydrogen peroxide is heated in presence of platinum catalyst, oxygen gas is liberated. This is one more method for the preparation of acetics oxygen there. ನಾನು ಇಲ್ಲಿವರೆಗೂ ಡಿಸ್ಕಸ್ ಮಾಡಿದಂತ ಮೆಥಡ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ there are the small scale preparations of oxygen gas. Now small amount of oxygen gas can be prepared here, but in large scale you can prepare oxygen by the electrolysis of water. So water is also a very good source of oxygen. yes, water is also a very good source of oxygen. That is when water is subjected to acetics electrolysis, andre when electricity is passed through water, ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ water decomposed to give hydrogen gas, water decomposed to give acetics hydrogen gas and also oxygen gas, whereas hydrogen gas will be liberated at cathode. yes, it is oxygen gas will be liberated at anode. This is what we call it as electrolysis of water. When water undergoes electrolysis, what happens? H plus ions from water will undergo reduction at cathode to liberate hydrogen gas, whereas OH minus ions at anode undergo oxidation. yes, it is undergo oxidation, and of course loss of electrons. So and of course if you want to balance it, you go for 4H minus, 4OH minus. This is 4 electrons, 2H2 over there. The equation is balanced. Notice at cathode, reduction of H plus takes place to liberate hydrogen gas. At anode, OH minus undergo oxidation to give as oxygen gas. So this is what we call it as electrolysis of water. The another method for the large scale production of oxygen here, that is when electricity is passed through water, electrolysis of water takes place to liberate hydrogen gas at cathode and oxygen gas at anode. Yes, cathode alli reduction of H plus agutte, anode alli oxidation of OH minus agutte, right? And of course, as far as fifth method is concerned, once again, industrial method for the preparation of oxygen, that is industrial method. Industrial method for the, yes, it is preparation, or you can say isolation of oxygen, that is, it can be in industries, oxygen gas can be obtained by using air. Air is a very good source of oxygen. 21% of air contains oxygen. Around 21% by volume of air contains oxygen. And first of all, what you need to do is, you remove carbon dioxide and water vapor present in, yes, it is air first. Air has to be purified. Air has to be purified first by removing carbon dioxide and water. Then you are going to get, yes, it is pure and dry air. You are going to get pure and dry air. And this pure and dry air will be liquefied. Pure and dry air will be liquefied. Yes, it is. When it is liquefied, you are going to get liquid air. Yes, you are going to get liquid air. And of course, when liquid air is fractionally distilled, when liquid air is subjected to fractional distillation, ಈ liquid air ಅನ್ನ fractional distillation ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ, at about 77 kelvins, nitrogen gas distills off. At about 77 kelvins, nitrogen gas distills off, whereas at about 90 kelvins, oxygen gas will be coming out. We discussed this same method in the, yes, it is preparation of nitrogen there. When liquid air is subjected to fractional distillation, at about 77 kelvins, nitrogen gas distills off. At about 90 kelvins, oxygen gas will be coming out. Yes, so this is another method for the preparation of, yes, it is oxygen. And of course, in industries, that is industrial production of oxygen by fractional distillation of liquid air. Yes, and of course, that is what we call it as the methods of preparation of oxygen there. Okay, now different methods we discussed, is it not? Yes. These are the different methods available for the preparation of, yes, it is oxygen. As I said, of course, as far as oxygen is concerned, it's a colorless gas. It's a colorless gas, odorless gas, slightly soluble in water, and around 3.08 ml of oxygen gas will be soluble in 100 ml of water at about, yes, it is 293 kelvins, 20 degrees Celsius. Apart from that, this oxygen is a very good oxidizing agent. Oxygen is a very good oxidizing agent. It reacts with metals, non-metals, and even compounds. Oxygen reacts with metals, non-metals, even, yes, it is compounds. Of course, as far as action of metals is concerned, when metals like calcium and of course, yes, it is aluminium. When metals like calcium and aluminium, when they react with oxygen, yes, upon heating. And of course, heating is required in the beginning, right? Heating is required in the beginning because as far as oxygen is concerned, there is a double bond between two oxygen atoms. And of course, in order to break this double bond, you need around 493 kilojoules per mole of energy. Energy required to break 1 mole of O to O double bond is 493 kilojoules of energy. This energy in order to start the chemical reaction, initial heating is required. The reaction start initial heat reaction takes place and you are going to get respective oxides. Reaction takes place and you are going to get respective oxides. And of course, that reaction is exothermic. And of course, reaction is exothermic. Yes, that exothermic nature of reaction will raise the temperature so that there is a reaction between metals and, yes, it is oxygen there. The reaction exothermic ಆಗಿರೋದ್ರಿಂದ initial ಆಗಿ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ temperature ನೀವು ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ heat provide ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. ನಂತರ that exothermic nature of reaction will will provide that is heat needed for the chemical reaction to take place, right? So this is what we call it as calcium oxide and aluminum oxide. Balance ಮಾಡಿ O2 ಇರೋದ್ರಿಂದ 2CaO and of course this is 2Ca. ಹೌದಾ? ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡಿ Al2 ಇರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಇಲ್ಲಿ 2Al ಹಾಕಿದೀನಿ. ಹೌದಾ? ಇಲ್ಲಿ O3 ಇದೆ, ಇಲ್ಲಿ O2 ಇದೆ, ಅದಕ್ಕೋಸ್ಕರ ಅದನ್ನ 3/2 O2 ಅಂತ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋಬಹುದಲ್ವಾ? 3/2 ಅಂದ್ರೆ 1.5. 1.5 to 2 ಎಷ್ಟಾಗುತ್ತೆ? 3 ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. In order to balance it, you multiply it by yes, it is 2. ಈ ಫ್ರಾಕ್ಷನ್ಸ್ ಅವಾಯ್ಡ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕಂದ್ರೆ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ? 4Al plus and 3O2 on heating you are going to get, yes, it is 2Al2O3 and of course heat is liberated. This is aluminum oxide and it will be calcium oxide. When metals like aluminum and calcium, when they are heated in presence of oxygen, you are going to get the respective oxides, and that is action of oxygen on metals there. Action of oxygen on metals. Similarly, oxygen can react with, yes, it is non-metals. Oxygen can react with non-metals like phosphorus and carbon. When white phosphorus is exposed to oxygen, readily catches fire and you are going to get P4O10. White phosphorus readily catches fire and you are going to get P4O10. Balance ಮಾಡಬೇಕಲ್ಲ 5O2. Yes, equation is balanced. Similarly, when carbon is burnt, you are going to get carbon dioxide, and of course both are, yes, it is exothermic reactions. Both are exothermic reactions, and this is what we call it as action of non-metals on oxygen, right? When white phosphorus, when it is exposed to air, it readily catches fire and it glows in dark conditions to form phosphorus pentoxide. Similarly, when carbon is burnt in presence of excess oxygen, you are going to get carbon dioxide. That is action of non-metals. Apart from that, even this oxygen, yes, it is it is react with compounds also, right? And as far as compounds are concerned, you go for this methane and of course zinc sulfide. Yes. Now when methane is burnt in presence of oxygen, you are going to get respective oxides, carbon dioxide and water there. When methane is burnt in presence of oxygen, you are going to get carbon dioxide. Balance ಮಾಡಬೇಕಲ್ವಾ? 4 ಇದೆ, ಇಲ್ಲಿ 2 ಇದೆ, ಹಾಗಾಗಿ 2H2O ಹಾಕ್ಬಿಡಿ. ಆಗ oxygen 4 ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, therefore it is 2O2. Equation is balanced. Similarly, when zinc oxide, zinc sulfide ಅಥವಾ zinc blende, you might have studied this in roasting of zinc blende. ಹೌದಾ? You are going to get respective oxide, that is zinc oxide, along with the formation of sulfur dioxide here. Along with the formation of sulfur dioxide here. ಹೌದಾ? ಬ್ಯಾಲೆನ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಲ್ಲ ಈಗ? Yes, it is. ಇಲ್ಲೇನಿದೆ 3 oxygen atoms, ಇಲ್ಲಿ 2 ಇದೆ, ಹಾಗಾಗಿ you make it 3/2O2. ಹೌದಾ? Fractions ಅವಾಯ್ಡ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಂದ್ರೆ you multiply the whole equation by 2, then it is 2ZnS plus 3O2. That leads to what? 2ZnO and of course 2SO2. This is the oxidation of zinc sulfide ಅಥವಾ burning of zinc sulfide ಅಥವಾ roasting of zinc sulfide ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ. Apart from that, and this there are some compounds, they undergo catalytic oxidation with oxygen. For example, when sulfur dioxide gas, when it undergoes oxidation in presence of, yes, it is vanadium pentoxide catalyst, sulfur dioxide can be oxidized to, yes, it is sulfur trioxide. Sulfur dioxide can be oxidized to sulfur trioxide in presence of vanadium pentoxide. Nodi 2SO2 plus O2 to give 2SO3. Sulfur dioxide is oxidized to sulfur trioxide. This is in presence of catalyst. Similarly, HCl undergoes catalytic oxidation in presence of cupric chloride. HCl undergoes catalytic oxidation in presence of cupric chloride to give water and of course with the liberation of chlorine gas there. This is also catalytic oxidation of HCl in the presence of oxygen there. Yes, balance ಮಾಡಬೇಕಲ್ವಾ? Look at this. ಇಲ್ಲಿ Cl2 ಇದೆ, ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಇಲ್ಲಿ 2HCl ಹಾಕ್ತೀನಿ. ಆಕ್ಸಿಜನ್ ನೋಡಿ ಇಲ್ಲಿ 1 ಇದೆ, ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ? half O2 ಹಾಕ್ತೀನಿ. Equation is balanced. To avoid this fraction, you multiply that whole equation by 2. ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ? 4HCl, 2 into half O2 is O2 there. In presence of cupric chloride, you are going to get 2 ಇಂದ multiply ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ, 2H2O and of course 2Cl2 there. When HCl undergoes catalytic oxidation in presence of cupric chloride, you are going to get chlorine gas there. So this is what we call it as catalytic oxidation of, yes, it is some compounds like sulfur dioxide and, yes, it is hydrochloric acid. Compounds only methane and zinc sulfide to be discussed. Non-metals ಅಲ್ಲಿ phosphorus and carbon to be discussed. Metals ಅಲ್ಲಿ aluminum and calcium to be discussed. That is totally when oxygen reacts with the elements and compounds, you are going to get their respective oxides. So this is what we call it as oxidizing properties of oxygen, and of course oxygen is a very good oxidizing agent. Now at this moment, as far as oxides of the elements are concerned, that is the oxides of elements will be classified into different types. And of course simple oxides and mixed oxides anta ide. Matte simple oxides alli bere bere tara ide. Okay na, that we'll see, right? That is what we call it as simple oxides of, yes, it is oxygen. Yes, that is oxygen can form two types of oxides, that is mixed oxides and of course simple oxides. But as per your NCERT textbook is concerned, you are supposed to study only simple oxides. As far as mixed oxides are concerned, we have FeO dot Fe2O3. This is mixed oxide of iron, that is Fe3O4. As I said already, that is one of the mixed oxides is PbO2 and of course 2PbO. This is one more example for mixed oxide where an element is in the form of oxide but in different oxidation states. Illi lead is in +4 state, here is in +2 state. Illi iron is in +2 state, here is in +3 state, where the metal is in different oxidation state. That is what we call mixed oxides. But our interest is only on simple oxides. Simple oxides are the binary compounds of oxygen with other elements. They are the binary compounds. Binary compounds are the compound that is obtained by the combination of two elements. That is what we call it as binary compounds. These binary compounds of oxygen with other elements, metals and non-metals, which will be called as simple oxides. Simple oxides will be of different types. That is acidic oxides, then it is basic oxide, and of course amphoteric oxides. Simple oxides will be of three types. One it will be acidic oxides, or you can say basic oxide, and you can say that amphoteric oxide. These are the three types of simple oxides that you come across. Yes, these acidic oxides are generally oxides of non-metals. Generally, exceptions there. Generally, they are oxides of non-metals. When these acidic oxides are dissolved in water, they produce acid solutions. Any simple oxide that produces acid solution, when it is dissolved in water, is called as acidic oxide. ಯಾವುದೇ ಆಕ್ಸೈಡ್ ವಾಟರ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕರಗಿಸಿದಾಗ ಅದೇನಾದ್ರೂ ಆಸಿಡ್ ಸೊಲ್ಯೂಷನ್ ಬಂತು ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಆಗ ಆ ಆಕ್ಸೈಡ್ ಅನ್ನ ಅಸಿಡಿಕ್ ಆಕ್ಸೈಡ್ ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ. ಫಾರ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್, ಯು ಟೇಕ್ ದಟ್ ಸಲ್ಫರ್ ಡೈಆಕ್ಸೈಡ್. When it is dissolved in water, you are going to get sulfurous acid, H2SO3. And sulfur dioxide is what? Non-metal oxide. And generally acidic oxides are oxides of non-metal. Sulfur is a non-metal. Apart from that, when carbon dioxide, when it is dissolved in water, you are going to get carbonic acid, H2CO3. That's why carbon dioxide is acidic oxide. Or you can say, when nitrogen pentoxide, when it is dissolved in water, you are going to get 2HNO3. That is no. When nitrogen pentoxide is dissolved in water, you are going to get nitric acid, one more acid solution. Or you can say, when sulfur trioxide, when it is dissolved in water, you are going to get H2SO4, that is sulfuric acid. Or you can say Cl2O7, chlorine heptoxide, dichlorine heptoxide. When it is dissolved in water, you are going to get perchloric acid, 2HClO4, Cl2O7 plus O, N-toxin, so perchloric acid. So when Cl2O7 is dissolved in water, you are going to get strong acid like perchloric acid. This is sulfuric acid, this is nitric acid, this is carbonic acid, this is, yes, it is sulfurous acid. Any non-metal oxide or any simple oxide, when it is dissolved in water, if it gives acid solution, look at this. These are all the acid solutions. When any non-metal oxide, when it is dissolved in water, if it gives acid solutions, and that simple oxide is called as acidic oxide. What are acidic oxides? The simple oxides which produce acid solution on dissolving in water, they are called as acidic oxides ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ಬೇಕು. Yes, generally they are non-metal oxides. Okay na? And if it comes to the basic oxides, look at that basic oxides. Basic oxides are generally oxides of metals. Basic oxides are one more simple oxides. Basic oxides are one more simple oxides. Generally oxides of metal. They are generally oxides of metals. When these oxides are dissolved in water, they are going to get basic solutions like NaOH. When sodium oxide is dissolved in water, you are going to get NaOH. Therefore, Na2O is what? Yes, it is basic oxide. Or you can say when calcium oxide, when it is dissolved in water, you are going to get calcium hydroxide. This is basic solution. ಹೌದಾ? Calcium oxide in the water ಗೆ ಹಾಕಿದ್ರೆ calcium hydroxide ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಇದಕ್ಕೋಸ್ಕರ ಇದು calcium oxide is a basic oxide. When magnesium oxide, when it is dissolved in water, you are going to get magnesium hydroxide, basic solution. When potassium oxide, when it is dissolved in water, you are going to get one more basic solution, that is KOH. Nodi, sodium oxide, calcium oxide, magnesium oxide, and potassium oxide, they are all oxides of metals. They are oxides of metals, are the simple oxides which will produce basic solutions on dissolving in water. They are called as, yes, it is ಏನಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ, basic oxides ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ. That is one more example as far as one more type of simple oxide, that is basic oxides. Apart from that, we have some oxides, they react with acids as well as bases. ಇದೆಲ್ಲದರ ಜೊತೆಗೆ there are some oxides, we call them as amphoteric oxides. There are some oxides, we call them as amphoteric oxides. AMPHOTERIC, amphoteric oxides. And these amphoteric oxides, they can react with acid solutions as well as basic solutions to form salts. Such type of oxides are called as amphoteric oxides. We have the examples like Al2O3, zinc oxide, and of course lead oxide. Yes, I go to that. Yes, these are some examples for, yes, it is amphoteric oxides. That is, these Al2O3. Let me prove this Al2O3, right? Let me prove this Al2O3 as yes, it is amphoteric, because when it reacts with HCl in presence of water, you are going to get one complex, that is AlH2O 6 times 3 plus, along with the formation of, yes, it is Cl minus here. Okay na? ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡಿ, ಈ ಈಕ್ವೇಶನ್ ಬ್ಯಾಲೆನ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಲ್ವಾ ಈಗ. ಎಸ್ ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ Al2 ಇದೆ, ಅದಕ್ಕೋಸ್ಕರ ಏನ್ ಹಾಕಿ 2 AlH2O 6 ಟೈಮ್ಸ್ ಹಾಕಬೇಕು. ಈಗ ಏನಾಯ್ತು, ಈಗ ಆಕ್ಸಿಜನ್ ಎಷ್ಟಾಯ್ತು ನೋಡಿ, 12 ಆಯ್ತು. ಹೌದಾ? ಆಕ್ಸಿಜನ್ ಎಷ್ಟಾಯ್ತು? 12 ಆಕ್ಸಿಜನ್ ಐಟಮ್ಸ್ ಆಲ್ರೆಡಿ ಎಷ್ಟಿದೆ, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಎಷ್ಟಿದೆ, 3 ಇದೆ. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಉಳಿದಿದ್ದು 12, 9 ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಹಾಕ್ಬೇಕು. ಇಲ್ಲಿ 12 ಆಕ್ಸಿಜನ್ ಐಟಮ್ಸ್ ಇರ್ತಾನೆ, ಇಲ್ಲೂ 12 ಹಾಕ್ಬೇಕಲ್ವಾ. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಆಲ್ರೆಡಿ 3 ಇದೆ, ಉಳಿದಿದ್ದು ಎಷ್ಟು, 9 ಎಷ್ಟು ಆಯ್ತು. ಓಕೆನಾ? ಈಗ ನೋಡಿ, ಎಸ್ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಹೈಡ್ರೋಜನ್ ಆಟಮ್ಸ್ ನೋಡಿ ಎಷ್ಟಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ, ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ 24 ಹೈಡ್ರೋಜನ್ ಆಟಮ್ಸ್ ಇದೆ. ಹೌದಾ? 12 into 2 24. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಎಷ್ಟಿದೆ, 18 ಇದೆ. ಇನ್ನ 6 HCl. ಈಗ ನೋಡಿ, ಇಲ್ಲಿ 6 HCl ಹಾಕ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಇಲ್ಲಿ6 Cl minus ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ನೋಡಿ, equation is balanced. That is 2 plus 3 plus 6 charge is minus 6 charge. Equation is balanced. Here aluminum oxide is acting like a base because it reacts with acid like HCl. What I said, I am going to justify that Al2O3 is amphoteric. That is, and Al2O3 can react with acid to form a salt. That is hexaquo-aluminium 3 ಅಂತ ಕರೀತೀವಿ ಇದಕ್ಕೆ. Hexaquo-aluminium 3 ion. Yes. ಹಾಗೇನೆ when Al2O3, it can also react with sodium hydroxide solution. Not only acid, this Al2O3 can react with base. ನಿಮಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿದೆ, NaOH is a base. ಇಲ್ಲಿ Al2O3 is reacting with acid, but here it is reacting with base. What I said, any substance that reacts with acids as well as bases to form salts. Here the salt is Na3Al OH 6 times, and of course sodium aluminate we call it as. Yes, okay na? So this is what we call it as equation there. ಈಗ ನೋಡಿ, ಇದನ್ನ ಬ್ಯಾಲೆನ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಲ್ವಾ. look at this, Na3 ಇದೆ, ಇಲ್ಲಿ Al2 ಇದೆ, ಅದಕ್ಕೋಸ್ಕರ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಾಗಬೇಕು, 2 ಹಾಕಲೇಬೇಕು. ಆಗ Na 6 ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ಆಗೇನಾಗುತ್ತೆ 6 ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ರೈಟ್. 6 NaOH ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಆಕ್ಸಿಜನ್ ನೋಡಿ ಎಷ್ಟಿದೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ 9 ಇದೆ, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಆಕ್ಸಿಜನ್ ಎಷ್ಟಿದೆ 12 ಇದೆ, ಅದಕ್ಕೋಸ್ಕರ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಾಗಬೇಕು 3s2 ಹಾಕ್ಲೇಬೇಕು. ಎಸ್, so this is what we call it as your aluminum oxide reacts with NaOH to form sodium aluminate. This is sodium aluminate, one of the forms of aluminate. Yes, ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂದ್ರೆ sodium hexahydroxo aluminate 3 ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಕೋಆರ್ಡಿನೇಷನ್ ಕೆಮಿಸ್ಟ್ರಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಬರುತ್ತೆ ನಾಮನ್ಕ್ಲೇಚರ್, ಅದನ್ನ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡೋಣ. ಓಕೆನಾ? This is common name is sodium aluminate. Yes, your aluminum oxide is acting like a acid. In this case, it acts like a base. Means what? Al2O3 can act like an acid as well as can act like a base as well as acid. Therefore, Al2O3 is a, yes, it is amphoteric. ಈ ಎರಡು ಈಕ್ವೇಷನ್ಸ್ ಇಂದ ನಾನು ಏನು ಜಸ್ಟಿಫೈ ಮಾಡಬಹುದು? Al2O3 is amphoteric ಅಂತ ಜಸ್ಟಿಫೈ ಮಾಡಬಹುದು. ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ ಕೇಳಬಹುದು, how do you justify Al2O3 as amphoteric ಅಂತ ಕೇಳಿದ್ರೆ you have to write these two equations. In this equation, Al2O3 acts like a base. In this equation, Al2O3 acts like a acid. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ Al2O3 can act like an acid as well as base. This is what we call it as amphoteric oxides. Apart from that, we have certain oxides, they neither act like an acid nor as a base. So we call them as neutral oxides. There are some oxides like nitrous oxide, nitric oxide and carbon monoxide. Even though they are oxides of non-metals, they neither act like an acid nor as a base, and of course they are called as neutral oxides. Apart from that, we have some metal oxides like Mn2O7, CrO3. Nodi, ನಾನು ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೆ non-metal oxides are acidic, metal oxides are basic ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಲ್ಲ, but here it is Mn2O7 ಇದೆಯಲ್ಲ, Mn2O7 ಇದೆಯಲ್ಲ, so this is a metal oxide. CrO3 is a metal oxide, but still these two are acidic. ನಾನು ಹೇಳಿದ ರೀಸನ್ ಏನಪ್ಪಾ ಅಂದ್ರೆ, in this case manganese is in highest oxidation state, chromium is in highest oxidation state. ಹೌದಾ? If an element is in highest oxidation state, in that compound it will be acting like acid ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ನಲ್ಲ. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ here, even though they are metal oxides, they are acting like acids because the element in the compound will be in highest oxidation state. So ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಇವೆಲ್ಲ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಗಮನಿಸಿ. ಓಕೆನಾ? So this is what we call it as simple oxides of acids, some elements, right? They are the compounds of oxygen, right? So this is what we call it as oxygen. As far as uses of oxygen is concerned, and of course, as a life-saving gas it is. Oxygen gas is a life-saving gas. Therefore, oxygen cylinders are used in hospitals. Apart from that, very good oxidizing agent. It is used to bring about oxidation of various compounds. Apart from that, this oxygen gas is used as a propellant in rockets. That is, liquid oxygen is used as a propellant. Okay, na? Propellant is a mixture of fuel and oxidizer. And here, liquid oxygen can be used as an oxidizer in order to burn. Yes, it is fuels. That is what we call it as in rocket propellant agi liquid oxygen anna balastare. Apart from that, this oxygen is used in the manufacture of steel. And of course, where oxygen is used to purify that impure iron into wrought iron. Wrought iron will be then converted to steel there. In the manufacture of steel also, this oxygen gas is used. These are the some uses of, yes, it is oxygen. Now at this moment, as per your NCERT textbook, I supposed to discuss one of the, yes it is allotropic forms of oxygen, that is what we call it as ozone. Ozone is what we call it as one of the allotropic forms of oxygen. Look at the ozone name. Ozone, yes it is. Ozone, yes it is, if you heard the word ozone, immediately in our mind, ozone layer comes in, is it not? That is, ozone layer is at the height of 20 kilometers from the earth's surface, right? Ozone layer is at the height of 20 kilometers from the earth's surface. This is ozone layer. This ozone layer is going to absorb harmful UV radiations from the sun. Howda? This ozone layer above the surface of earth, howda, is going to absorb, yes, it is harmful UV radiations from sun. And thereby this ozone layer is going to save the life on the earth. Howda? The life on the earth is because of that is covering of ozone layer around the earth. Howda? ಈ ಭೂಮಿ ಸುತ್ತ ಏನ್ ಕವರಿಂಗ್ ಇದೆ, ಓಝೋನ್ ಲೇಯರ್ ಕವರಿಂಗ್ ಇದೆ. ಈ ಓಝೋನ್ ಲೇಯರ್ ಏನ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ, ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಗೋಯಿಂಗ್ ಟು ಪ್ರಿವೆಂಟ್ UV radiations from reaching the earth surface from sun. ಸೂರ್ಯನಿಂದ ಬರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ UV radiations ಅನ್ನು ಅಬ್ಸಾರ್ಬ್ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಂಡು ಭೂಮಿಗೆ ರೀಚ್ ಆಗದಂಗೆ ತಡೀತವೆ. ಹೌದ್ ತಾನೆ, ತಡೆಯುತ್ತೆ, ಹೌದಾ? ಹಾಗಾಗಿ this ozone layer is a God gift, ಹೌದಾ? And thereby the life, because of that only life on the earth is existing. Because of that, we are going to give thanks to the, yes, it is ozone, by saying that ozone. The O, that is ozone. Oh my God, antivalla atara. Ozone is a zone, it's a region in the atmosphere at the height of 20 kilometers from the earth's surface, which is going to prevent life on the earth. That is what we call it as ozone layer. Because of that, the name ozone. Oh my God, you have saved my life. Antivalla atara ozone anta helbittu simply we are giving, yes, it is respect, and of course we are very much thankful to the layer on the, yes, it is earth surface. That's what we call it as ozone there. And of course, as far as ozone is concerned, it is a pale blue colored gas. It is a pale blue colored gas, or light blue colored gas. When it is liquefied, it is converted to deep blue colored liquid. Yes, it is a deep blue colored liquid. Yes. Gaseous form ಅಲ್ಲಿ pale blue ಇರ್ತದೆ, ಲಿಕ್ವಿಡ್ ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ deep blue ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. When it is solidified, it will be converted to, yes, it is dark violet color. That is, in solid form, it will be having dark violet color. This is what we call it as the physical state of, yes, it is ozone there. As far as our inside textbook is concerned, we are supposed to study, yes, it is preparation of ozone. You are supposed to study, right? Preparation of ozone study ಮಾಡಬೇಕು, right? In the preparation of ozone, that is produced by, yes, it is by passing, yes, it is silent electric discharge. It can be obtained by passing silent electric discharge through dry oxygen. Yes, that is very important. You must use pure and dry oxygen gas. When silent electric discharge is passed through, yes, it is pure and dry oxygen, it is converted to O3 there. Look at this. This is a gas. This is also a gas, right? Balance ಮಾಡಬೇಕಲ್ಲ, 3 ಇದೆ, ಇಲ್ಲಿ 2 ಇದೆ, ಹಾಗಾಗಿ 3O2 gives 2O3, right? When silent electric discharge is passed through dry oxygen gas, it will be converted to, yes, it is ozone there. And of course, only around 10% of oxygen gas will be converted to ozone. Therefore, as far as product of this reaction is concerned, you are going to get mixture of oxygen as well as ozone. ನೀವು 100 ml of oxygen ತಗೊಂಡ್ರೆ ಬರೀ 10 ml ಮಾತ್ರ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ozone ಆಗಿ ಕನ್ವರ್ಟ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ only 10% of oxygen will be converted to ozone. Remaining oxygen will be as in the form of O2 only. That's why it is called as ozonized oxygen. Yes, that's why it is called as ozonized oxygen. That means when silent electric discharge is passed through dry oxygen gas, you are going to get ozonized gas. Ozonized oxygen means mixture of ozone and, yes, it is oxygen you are going to get. And upon liquefaction, you can separate oxygen and ozone. Liquefy ಮಾಡಿಬಿಟ್ಟು oxygen ಮತ್ತು ozone separate ಮಾಡಬಹುದು. Yes, so this is what we call it as preparation of ozone ಅಥವಾ preparation of ozonized oxygen. ಯಾವ್ದಾದ್ರು ಕೇಳಬಹುದು. How is ozone is prepared ಅಂತ ಕೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಇದನ್ನ ಬರೀರಿ. How is ozonized oxygen ಅಂತ ಕೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಕೂಡ ಇದನ್ನೇ ಬರೀರಿ. That is when silent electric discharge is passed through dry and pure oxygen gas, we are going to get, yes, it is ozonized oxygen. And of course, as far as the silent electric discharge ಏನು ಅಂತ ನನಗೆ ಪದೇ ಸ್ಟೂಡೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಕೇಳ್ತಿರ್ತಾರೆ. ಎಸ್, ಸೈಲೆಂಟ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಗೊತ್ತಾ, ವಿದೌಟ್ ಸೌಂಡ್ ಅಂತ, ಹೌದಾ? ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ as far as the preparation of oxygen is concerned, preparation of ozone is concerned, we use some devices called, yes, it is ozonizers ಅಂತ ಕೆಲವು ಡಿವೈಸಸ್ ಅನ್ನು ಬಳಸ್ತೇವೆ. One of the popular devices is Siemens ozonizer ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ. Siemens ozonizer ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಒಂದು ಡಿವೈಸ್ ಅದು. And of course, here this Siemens ozonizer or ozonizers, they are going to provide, yes, it is silent electric discharge. Means they are going to produce, yes, it is the current at high voltage. They are going to produce current at, yes, it is high voltage Yes, it is current at high voltage. The current will be passing through the dry oxygen gas at high voltage. Yes, without producing any sparks, or you can say this is a sparkless voltage. Silent electric discharge andre sparkless voltage where current is running at high voltage in order to stabilize O3 there. ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ ನಿಮಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿದೆ O3 molecule is highly unstable. Ozone is highly unstable. Reaction can be reversed easily. ಈ reaction ಅನ್ನು ಈಸಿಯಾಗಿ ನೀವು ರಿವರ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡಬಹುದು. And therefore, in order to make that equilibrium to be in the forward direction, we need to pass sparkless voltage. That is a current at high voltage without producing sound. And that stabilizes O3 molecule. And of course, the reaction is, yes, it is endothermic nature it is. This reaction is endothermic. Delta H is positive. E reaction is the conversion of O2 to O3, that is endothermic. That has to be highlighted. Because of that endothermic nature of the, yes, it is reaction, you need to maintain very high voltage. That high current is passing through the dry and pure oxygen gas at high voltage without producing any sparks. If there is any production of sparks there, decomposition of ozone takes place. ಏನಾದರೂ ಸ್ಪಾರ್ಕ್ಸ್ ಏನಾದರೂ ಪ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸ್ ಆಗಿಬಿಟ್ರೆ ಎಲೆಕ್ಟ್ರಿಸಿಟಿ ಪಾಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಅವಾಗ ಓಝೋನ್ ಡಿಕಂಪೋಸ್ ಆಗಿಬಿಡುತ್ತೆ. ಅದಕ್ಕೋಸ್ಕರ ಯು ಆರ್ ಗೋಯಿಂಗ್ ಟು ಪಾಸ್, ಎಸ್, ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಸ್ಪಾರ್ಕ್ಲೆಸ್ ವೋಲ್ಟೇಜ್, that is running current at high voltage. Yes, it is, and that is without producing any sound. So that is what we call it as silent electric discharge. That can be achieved by using the devices called Siemens ozonizers. ಈ ತರ ಕೆಲವು ಸಿಮನ್ಸ್ ಅಥವಾ ಓಝನೈಸರ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ ಇದೆ. ಆ ಓಝನೈಸರ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನಿಮಗೆ ಈ ತರ ಸೈಲೆಂಟ್ ಎಲೆಕ್ಟ್ರಿಕ್ ಡಿಸ್ಚಾರ್ಜ್ ಅನ್ನ, ಎಸ್, ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಪಾಸ್ ಮಾಡುವಂತ ಫೆಸಿಲಿಟಿ ಅಲ್ಲಿರ್ತದೆ. ಓಕೆನಾ? ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ವಾಟ್ ವಿ ಕಾಲ್ ಇಟ್ as preparation of ozone there. And as far as chemical properties are concerned, right? And of course, as far as preparation of ozone in the atmosphere is concerned, how that ozone layer is formed in the atmosphere ಅಂತ ನೀವು ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ, that is because of the action of UV radiations on oxygen. When oxygen comes in contact with UV radiations, it will be converted to atomic oxygen. That atomic oxygen combines with molecular oxygen to form O3 there. So this is how that O3 will be produced in the nature by the action of UV radiations on oxygen. O2 will be converted to air O2. It will be decomposed to give atomic oxygen. That atomic oxygen combines with the remaining O2 molecules to form O3 there. This is how ozone layer is being formed in the atmosphere. Yes, ಈ ಒಂದು ರಿಯಾಕ್ಷನ್ ಮೂಲಕ ಓಝೋನ್ ಲೇಯರ್ ನಮ್ಮ ನೇಚರ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಪ್ರೊಡಕ್ಷನ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇರ್ತದೆ. Yes, so that is at the height of around 20 kilometers from Earth surface, right? So that is what we call it as preparation of ozone in the formation of ozone in the atmosphere, right? Now under chemical properties, right? You are supposed to study some reactions like decomposition of ozone there. You are supposed to study some reactions like decomposition of O3 there. Yes, and of course O3 decomposed to produce O3 decomposed to produce O2 there. And interesting is reaction is exothermic. Almost all decomposition reactions are, yes, it is endothermic alva. Adre decomposition of ozone to oxygen is exothermic. Heat is liberated, and therefore to balance it, you are going to get 2O3 gives 3O2. And of course for this reaction delta H is negative. ಹೌದಾ? ರಿಯಾಕ್ಷನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಎಕ್ಸೋಥರ್ಮಿಕ್ ಆಗಿರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಡೆಲ್ಟಾ H is negative. ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ನೋಡಿ, ಓಝೋನ್ ಕೂಡ ಗ್ಯಾಸ್, ಆಕ್ಸಿಜನ್ ಕೂಡ ಗ್ಯಾಸ್. ನಂಬರ್ ಆಫ್ ಮೋಲ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಓಝೋನ್ ಎಷ್ಟಿದೆ? 2 ಇದೆ. ನಂಬರ್ ಆಫ್ ಮೋಲ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಆಕ್ಸಿಜನ್ ಎಷ್ಟಿದೆ? 3 ಇದೆ. ಹೌದಾ? 2O3 ಅಂದ್ರೆ 2 moles of ozone decomposed to produce 3 moles of oxygen. ಏನಾಯ್ತು ಈಗ? ನಂಬರ್ ಆಫ್ ಮೋಲ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಗ್ಯಾಸಸ್ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆಯ್ತು. When number of moles of gases increases, entropy increases. Entropy depends on the number of moles of gases. As the number of moles of gases increases, entropy increases. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ delta S is also is positive for this reaction. ಈ reaction ಗೆ, decomposition reaction ಗೆ delta H is negative. ಯಾಕೆ ಹೇಳಿ? Reaction is exothermic. ಇಲ್ಲಿ delta S is positive. ಯಾಕೆ? Number of moles of gases ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆಗ್ತಿದೆ. 2 moles of ozone is converted to 3 moles of O2. ಹೌದಾ? ಹಾಗಾಗಿ delta S is positive, delta H is negative. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ you look at this reaction, delta G is equal to delta H into T into delta S. ಗೊತ್ತಲ್ಲ ನಿಮಗೆ ಇದು ಗಿಬ್ಸ್ ಹೆಲ್ಮೋಟ್ಸ್ ಈಕ್ವೇಶನ್ ಫಸ್ಟ್ PUC ಥರ್ಮೋಡೈನಮಿಕ್ಸ್. ಈ ಈಕ್ವೇಶನ್ ಪ್ರಕಾರ ನೋಡಿ ಡೆಲ್ಟಾ H ನೆಗೆಟಿವ್ ತಾನೆ, ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಮೈನಸ್ ಡೆಲ್ಟಾ H. ಇದು ನೆಗೆಟಿವ್ ತಾನೆ, ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಮೈನಸ್ ಹಾಕಿದೆ ಫಾರ್ ದಿಸ್ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಷನ್. ಈ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಷನ್ಗೆ ಈ ಈಕ್ವೇಶನ್ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ ನೋಡಿ, ಈ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಷನ್ಗೆ ಡೆಲ್ಟಾ H ನೆಗೆಟಿವ್ ಆಗಿರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನೆಗೆಟಿವ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ಈ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಷನ್ಗೆ ಡೆಲ್ಟಾ H ಪಾಸಿಟಿವ್ ಆಗಿರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಮೈನಸ್ T ಇಂಟು ಡೆಲ್ಟಾ H. ಇದು ಪಾಸಿಟಿವ್ ಆದ್ರೆ ಇದು ಮೈನಸ್ ಆಗಿ ಇರ್ತದೆ, ಹೌದಾ? ಅಂದಾಗ ಇಲ್ಲೂ ಮೈನಸ್ ಇದೆ, ಇಲ್ಲೂ ಮೈನಸ್ ಇದೆ. therefore delta G is always negative, ಹೌದಾ? As there is a negative value of delta H and positive value of delta S, delta G is always negative. Means what? If delta G is negative, reaction is highly spontaneous, ಹೌದಾ? ನಿಮಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಲ್ಲ, ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಪೀಸ್ ಓದಿದಿರಲ್ಲ, when delta G is negative, reaction is spontaneous. Therefore, if large amounts of ozone gas is there, that may undergo, yes, it is explosion. That may undergo explosion because of highly negative delta G value. Hagagi, so one has to be handled that ozone gas very, very carefully. So this is what we call it as thermodynamics of decomposition of ozone there. Idanna ನೀವು thermodynamics of decomposition of ozone ಅಂತಾನೂ ಕೂಡ ಕರೀಬಹುದು. Yes. Apart from that, as per your NCERT textbook, you are supposed to study action of ozone on the lead sulfide. Yes, you are supposed to study action of ozone on the lead sulfide. When ozone is passed through lead sulfide will be converted to lead sulfate. Lead sulfide will be converted to lead sulfate. Yes, look at this equation. Yes, and if you want to balance it, go for it. Yes, it is 2O tagondre, and of course along with the formation of oxygen. Therefore, lead sulfate plus oxygen. That is when ozone gas is passed through lead sulfide. This is lead sulfide. Yes, it is black colored substance it is, and that will be converted to, yes, it is white colored precipitate, lead sulfate. Lead sulfate is a insoluble substance. When ozone gas is passed through lead sulfide, you are going to get lead sulfate, white insoluble substance there. It will be settled down. Because of the formation of lead sulfate, this ozone is used in the treatment of sewage water. That is, because of this reaction, it will be, this reaction is used for the treatment of sewage water. The dark color of sewage water is because of lead sulfide. ಚರಂಡಿ ನೀರು ಯಾಕೆ ಬ್ಲಾಕ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಆ ಚರಂಡಿ ನೀರಲ್ಲಿ ಲೆಡ್ ಸಲ್ಫೈಡ್ ಕಂಟೆಂಟ್ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. And when ozone gas is passed through that particular sewage water, ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ozone oxidizes lead sulfide into, yes, it is lead sulfate. It will be settled down, and thereby water will be free from lead sulfide. Therefore, the dark color of water will be removed. So this is what we call it as, this reaction is used in the treatment of sewage water. Apart from that, as per your NCERT textbook, you are supposed to study action of ozone on the nitric oxide. Yes, that is when O3 reacts with nitric oxide gas, you are going to get, yes, it is nitrogen dioxide and oxygen there. Ozone oxidizes nitric oxide to nitrogen dioxide. ಯಾಕೆ ಇದನ್ನು ಓದ್ತೀವಿ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ this nitric oxide is released from the exhaust from, yes, it is supersonic jet engines. You might have heard about, yes, it is the supersonic jet aeroplanes. Jet aeroplanes are going to release a huge amount of gases, in the form of exhaust. ಈ jet aeroplanes ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನಿಮಗೆ huge quantity of gases will be coming out in the form of exhaust. ಹೌದಾ? ಆ ಎಕ್ಸಾಸ್ಟ್ ಗ್ಯಾಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಿರ್ತದೆ, ನೈಟ್ರಿಕ್ ಆಕ್ಸೈಡ್ ಇರ್ತದೆ, ಹೌದಾ, ಅಟ್ಮಾಸ್ಫಿಯರ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ. ಈ ನೈಟ್ರಿಕ್ ಆಕ್ಸೈಡ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ದ ಎಕ್ಸಾಸ್ಟ್ ಆಫ್ ದಿ, yes, it is supersonic jet aeroplanes, this nitric oxide reacts with ozone layer, and thereby you are going to get nitrogen dioxide. And this reaction is one of the reactions that is responsible for the depletion of ozone layer. The reaction akoti andre, this reaction is responsible for the depletion of, yes, it is ozone layer. This nitric oxide will be present in exhaust released from, that is supersonic jet aeroplanes. ಹೌದಾ? ಆಕಾಶದಲ್ಲಿ ಓಡಾಡ್ತಿರ್ತವಲ್ಲ ಏರೋಪ್ಲೇನ್ಸ್ ಅವೆಲ್ಲ, ಅವುಗಳಿಂದ ಬರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಗ್ಯಾಸಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಎಕ್ಸಾಸ್ಟ್ ಗ್ಯಾಸಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಿರ್ತದೆ, ನೈಟ್ರಿಕ್ ಆಕ್ಸೈಡ್ ಇರ್ತದೆ, ಅದು ಓಝೋನ್ ಲೇಯರ್ ಜೊತೆ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿಬಿಟ್ಟು ಓಝೋನ್ ಲೇಯರ್ ನ ಡಿಪ್ರೆಷನ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ. ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ವಾಟ್ ವಿ ಕಾಲ್ ಇಟ್ as one more reaction. Apart from that, you are supposed to study, yes, it is action of potassium iodide on ozone there. Yes, action of potassium iodide on ozone there. When potassium iodide reacts with ozone in presence of water, potassium iodide produces I minus. When I minus reacts with ozone in presence of water, you are going to get I2, and of course along with the formation of OH minus, and of course oxygen gas is liberated. Yes, I2 ಇರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ನೀವು 2 I minus ಹಾಕಬೇಕು. ಈ I minus ಎಲ್ಲಿಂದ ಬಂದಿರುತ್ತೆ? Potassium iodide ಇಂದ. Potassium iodide reacts with ozone ಅಥವಾ ozone oxidizes iodide to iodine. This is iodide, and of course you are going to get iodine there. Yes, along with the formation of OH minus. ಇಲ್ಲಿ 2 I minus ಇದೆ, ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಇಲ್ಲಿ 2 OH minus ಹಾಕಬೇಕು. Equation is balanced. Okay na? And the importance of this reaction is I can make use of this reaction for the estimation of ozone. This reaction is used for the estimation of ozone. Andre, in order to determine percentage of ozone present in ozonized oxygen. Ozonized oxygen alli ozone ಮತ್ತು oxygen ಎರಡು ಇರ್ತದೆ. In order to determine percentage of ozone present in ozonized oxygen, I can make use of this reaction. And this is used for this reaction is used for the estimation of ozone. ಹೇಗೆ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ? Ozone is passed through excess iodide solution. Ozone is passed through excess iodide solution to form iodine solution. ಹೌದಾ? Amount of iodine formed depends on the amount of ozone. A ozonized oxygen ಅಲ್ಲಿ amount of ozone ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆದರೆ amount of iodine formed is also increased. Now we are going to determine the amount of iodine formed by titrating with the standard solution of yes, it is sodium thiosulfate. ಈ iodine solution ಏನು ಬರುತ್ತಲ್ವಾ, ಅದನ್ನ titration ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ by using sodium thiosulfate solution. We determine the amount of iodine formed by using standard solution of sodium thiosulfate. If you know the amount of iodine formed, you can determine the amount of ozone. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ the percentage of ozone present in ozonized oxygen can be determined by using this reaction. ಈ reaction ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ? That is, ozone is passed through, yes, it is iodide solution by maintaining a pH of around 9.3 by using borate buffer. Borate buffer is a, yes, it is buffer that maintains constant pH of 9.3. For this particular reaction to take place, borate buffer ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಒಂದು ಕೆಮಿಕಲ್ ಮಿಕ್ಸ್ಚರ್ ಬರ್ತದೆ. ಆ ಕೆಮಿಕಲ್ ಮಿಕ್ಸ್ಚರ್ ನ ಬಳಸಿಕೊಂಡು pH ಅನ್ನ 9.3 ಮೇಂಟೈನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ. ನಿಮಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಲ್ಲ, buffers are going to maintain constant pH value. ಹೌದಾ? And at the pH of around 9.3, when ozone gas is passed through iodide solution, you are going to get iodine. This iodine formed is titrated against standard solution of sodium thiosulfate, and we are going to determine the amount of iodine formed. And if you know the amount of iodine formed, you can determine the amount of ozone. ಹೌದಾ? ಈ ರೀತಿ ಸೋಡಿಯಂ ಥಯೋಸಲ್ಫೇಟ್ ಅನ್ನು ಬಳಸಿಕೊಂಡು ಅಯೋಡಿನ್ ಅಮೌಂಟ್ ಅನ್ನು ಡಿಟರ್ಮೈನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ. ಅಮೌಂಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಅಯೋಡಿನ್ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗ್ಬಿಟ್ರೆ ಅಮೌಂಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಓಝೋನ್ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗುತ್ತೆ. This is how you can determine the percentage of ozone present in ozonized oxygen. So this is what we call it as one more reaction, and that is action of ozone on iodide. This is one more reaction, that is action of ozone on iodides. And of course these are the some reactions that we need to discuss as far as the chemical properties of ozone are concerned. And of course in a structure ಬರ್ತೀನಿ O3 ಗೆ. Yes, and of course oxygen is sp2 hybridized. Oxygen of the ozone is sp2 hybridized. sp2 hybridization ಬರ್ತದೆ. ಲೂಯಿಸ್ ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರ್ ಬರೀಬೇಕಲ್ವಾ? ಲೂಯಿಸ್ ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರ್ ಬರಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ನಂಬರ್ ಆಫ್ ವೇಲೆನ್ಸ್ ಎಲೆಕ್ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ ಎಷ್ಟು? 18. ಯಾಕೆ ಹೇಳಿ? ಒಂದು ಆಕ್ಸಿಜನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ 6 ವೇಲೆನ್ಸ್ ಎಲೆಕ್ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ ಇರ್ತದೆ, 3 ಆಕ್ಸಿಡೇಟಿವ್ಸ್ 18 ಇದೆ ವೇಲೆನ್ಸ್ ಎಲೆಕ್ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್. ಹೌದಾ? ನಾನು ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೆ, if at all ozone forms, if all the 3 oxygen atoms undergo octet configuration, if all the 3 oxygen atoms attain octet configuration, ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ? 3 into 8 is equal to 24 electrons ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಎಲ್ಲ 3 ಆಕ್ಸಿಜನ್ ಆಟಮ್ಸ್ ಆಕ್ಟೇಟ್ ಕಾನ್ಫಿಗರೇಷನ್ ಅಟೆಂಡ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ 24 ಎಲೆಕ್ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ ಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ. ಇಲ್ಲಿರೋದು 3 ಆಟಮ್ಸ್, ಪ್ರತಿ ಆಟಮ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ 6 ವೇಲೆನ್ಸ್ ಎಲೆಕ್ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ ಇದೆ, ಹಾಗಾಗಿ 18. ಡಿಫರೆನ್ಸ್ ಎಷ್ಟು? 6 ಎಲೆಕ್ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್. 6 ಎಲೆಕ್ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ನಿಮಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿದೆ 3 pairs ಅಂದ್ರೇನು? In the case of ozone there are 3 bonds. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ozone structure will be like this. This is ozone structure. 3 bonds ಅಲ್ವಾ? 2 ಬಾಂಡ್ ಇದೆ, ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಬಾಂಡ್ ಬರೀರಿ. ಏನಾಯ್ತು ಈಗ? ಇದು ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಓಝೋನ್ ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರ್ ಆಯ್ತು. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಎಷ್ಟಿದೆ? 18 ಎಲೆಕ್ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ ಇದೆ ಅಲ್ವಾ? 18 ಎಲೆಕ್ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ 3 ಬಾಂಡ್ಸ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ 6 ಎಲೆಕ್ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ ಯೂಸ್ ಆಯ್ತು. ಹೌದಾ? ಈಗ ಆಕ್ಟೇಟ್ ಕಾನ್ಫಿಗರೇಷನ್ ಅಟೆಂಡ್ ಆಗ್ಬೇಕಂದ್ರೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ 4 ಇದೆ. ಹೌದಾ? ಇನ್ನು 4 ಈ ತರ ಬರೀಬೇಕು. ಆಕ್ಟೇಟ್ ಆಯ್ತು. ಇಲ್ಲಿ 6 ಇದರ ಸುತ್ತ ಇನ್ನ 2 ಬೇಕು. ಇಲ್ಲಿ 2 ಇದೆ, ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಇನ್ನು ಎಷ್ಟು ಬೇಕು? Yes, it is R ಬೇಕು. Yes, ನೋಡಿ, this is what we call it as Lewis structure of ozone. 6 plus 4 10 plus 2 12. ಇಲ್ಲಿ 6 ಬಾಂಡ್, ಹೌದಾ? ಏನಾಯ್ತು? 12 ಏನಿದೆ? ಲೋನ್ ಪೇರ್ ಇದೆ, ಐ ಮೀನ್ 6 ಲೋನ್ ಪೇರ್ಸ್ ಇದೆ, ಆಮೇಲೆ 6 ಲೋನ್ ಪೇರ್ಸ್ ಇದೆ, 3 ಬಾಂಡ್ ಪೇರ್ಸ್ ಇದೆ. 12 plus 6 ಎಷ್ಟಾಯ್ತು? 18 electrons. So this is what we call it as Lewis structure of ozone. And of course you can write the resonance structure of it. Yes, ಇದನ್ನು ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ನೀವು resonance structure ಕೂಡ ಬರೀಬಹುದು. ಹೇಗೆ? Just to change the position of double bond ಅಷ್ಟೇನೆ. Yes, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಸಿಂಗಲ್ ಬಾಂಡ್ ಇದೆಯಲ್ಲ, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಡಬಲ್ ಬಾಂಡ್ ಹಾಕಿ, ಇದು ಡಬಲ್ ಬಾಂಡ್ ಸಿಂಗಲ್ ಬಾಂಡ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ. ಈಗ ನೋಡಿ, ಎಲೆಕ್ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ ಆಸ್ ಯೂಶುವಲ್ ಚೇಂಜ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ. ಇಲ್ಲಿ 4 ಇದೆ, ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಇನ್ನು 4 ಹಾಕಿ. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಆಲ್ರೆಡಿ 6 ಇದೆ, ಇಲ್ಲಿ 2 ಹಾಕಿ. ಇಲ್ಲಿ 2 ಎಲೆಕ್ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ ಇದೆ, ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಇನ್ನು 6 ಹಾಕಿ ಇಲ್ಲಿ. So this is what we call it as Lewis structure, and this is structure 1 and this is structure 2, right? ಹೌದಾ? Because of this resonance, ozone contains neither single bond nor double bond. ನೋಡಿ, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಸಿಂಗಲ್ ಬಾಂಡ್ ಇದ್ದು ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಡಬಲ್ ಆಯ್ತು, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಡಬಲ್ ಇದ್ದು ಸಿಂಗಲ್ ಆಯ್ತು. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಏನರ್ಥ? ಓಝೋನ್ ಕಂಟೈನ್ಸ್ ನೈದರ್ ಸಿಂಗಲ್ ಬಾಂಡ್ಸ್ ನಾಟ್ ಡಬಲ್ ಬಾಂಡ್ಸ್. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ that is O2O bond length in ozone is around 128 pm, and of course all O2O bond lengths are same. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಡಬಲ್ ಬಾಂಡ್ ಇದ್ರೆ ನಾವೇನು ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ ಗೊತ್ತಾ? O2O double bond to be smaller than O2O single bond. ಆದ್ರೆ ಎಲ್ಲ ಬಾಂಡ್ ಲೆಂತ್ಸ್ ಸೇಮ್ ಇದೆ ಅಂತ ಅರ್ಥ ಏನು? Ozone contains neither double bond nor single bond. Double bond single bond ಇದ್ದಿದ್ರೆ ozone would have got 2 bond lengths, ಹೌದಾ? ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಡಬಲ್ ಬಾಂಡ್ ಸಿಂಗಲ್ ಬಾಂಡ್ ಎರಡು ಇದ್ದಿದ್ರೆ ಓಝೋನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ 2 ಬಾಂಡ್ ಲೆಂತ್ಸ್ ಬರಬೇಕಿತ್ತು. ಆದ್ರೆ ಓಝೋನ್ will have only 1 bond length, that is 128 pm. All O2O bond lengths are same, 128 pm. Therefore ozone is the resonance hybrid of these two structures. Therefore resonance hybrid of ozone is like this. This is resonance hybrid of ozone. Okay na? Resonance hybrid of ozone, where O2O bond lengths are same. So this is what we call it as the resonance structures of ozone. Agboda? Resonance structures of ozone bari anta kelidre ನೀವು ಇಷ್ಟು ಬರೆದ್ರೆ ಸಾಕು. ಓಕೆನಾ? So this is what we call it as ozone there, and that's all about. Yes, it is ozone, one of the allotropic forms of, yes, it is oxygen. Yes, agboda? Yes, as far as uses of ozone are concerned, right? And of course one use we already know, that is it is going to protect life on the earth by absorbing UV radiations from sun. Howda? Another application is this ozone gas is used in cinema halls, where you can find the huge amount of crowd. ಹೌದಾ? ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಕ್ರೌಡ್ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಆ ಒಂದು ಹಾಲ್ಸ್ ಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಏನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ? ಓಝೋನ್ ಗ್ಯಾಸ್ ಅನ್ನ ಸ್ಪ್ರೇ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ ಓಝೋನ್ ಈಸ್ ಯೂಸ್ಡ್ ಟು ಕಿಲ್ the various bacteria and microorganisms present in air. Therefore ozone is used as air purifier. ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ? ಒಂದು ದೊಡ್ಡ ಹಾಲ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಸುಮಾರು ಜನ ಒಂದು 2-3 hours ಅಲ್ಲೇ ಇರ್ತಾರೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ? that hall will be contaminated with various the air present in the hall will be contaminated. ಹೌದಾ? ಆ ಹಾಲ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಏರ್ ಏನಾಗಿರ್ತದೆ? ಕಂಟಾಮಿನೇಟ್ ಆಗಿರ್ತದೆ. Because of that, after the show is over, ಏನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ ಗೊತ್ತಾ? Cinema theaters will be spread with, they are going to spray that ozone gas, and if ozone gas is sprayed, ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ? that is going to kill the various bacteria and microorganisms present in the air. That's why ozone is used as air purifier in cinema halls and theaters. ಹೌದಾ? ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ನೀವು ಸಿನಿಮಾ ಥಿಯೇಟರ್ಸ್ ಒಳಗಡೆ ಹೋದ ತಕ್ಷಣ ಫ್ರೆಶ್ ಫೀಲಿಂಗ್ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಬಿಕಾಸ್ the theaters will be, yes it is treated with, yes it is ozone and all those things. Okay na? Apart from that, ozone is used as a sterilizing agent. Ozone is used as a sterilizing agent, or you can say it can also be used as a bleaching agent. In order to remove colors, this ozone gas can be used. Okay na? This is what we call it as in bleaching oils, in purifying air in the cinema halls, as a sterilizing agent, or you can say in water purifiers. Water purifiers ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕೂಡ ಈ ಓಝೋನೈಸರ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನ ಫಿಕ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡಿರ್ತಾರೆ. ಮನೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರಲ್ಲ ವಾಟರ್ ಪ್ಯೂರಿಫೈಯರ್ಸ್, ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕೂಡ ಏನಿರ್ತದೆ? ಓಝೋನೈಸರ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ ಕೆಲವು ಡಿವೈಸಸ್ ಇರ್ತದೆ. ದೇ ಆರ್ ಗೋಯಿಂಗ್ ಟು ಕನ್ವರ್ಟ್ ಆಕ್ಸಿಜನ್ ಇಂಟು ಓಝೋನ್. ದಿಸ್ ಓಝೋನ್ is used to kill the various microorganisms present in water. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ this is what we call it as ozone and its uses. ಆಗ್ಬೋದಲ್ಲ? So this is what we call it as ozone. Next, now at this moment, we'll go for the one more element in the group 16, that is sulfur. Okay na? That is sulfur and its compounds what to study. In the today's video, we'll see something about sulfur. and especially allotropic forms of sulfur. Yes, allotropic forms of sulfur. Allotropic forms of sulfur. Sulfur is characterized by two allotropic forms. One, it will be alpha sulfur अथवा rhombic sulfur ಅಂತ ಕರೀತೀವಿ. Alpha sulfur अथवा rhombic sulfur, and I can say that it is most stable form of sulfur at room temperature. This is most stable form of sulfur at room temperature, right? This alpha sulfur is characterized by melting point of around yes, it is 386 kelvins. That is melting point of alpha sulfur or rhombic sulfur, and its specific gravity of the density is 2.08 gram per cm cube. This is density अथवा specific gravity of rhombic sulfur, and it is soluble in carbon disulfide. Carbon disulfide is very good solvent for rhombic sulfur, and it is insoluble in water. Yes, insoluble in water. This is some properties of yes, it is alpha sulfur there, right? And as far as preparation of alpha sulfur is concerned, when roll sulfur, that is the blocks or the sticks, sulfur in stick form अथवा block form, is roll sulfur is dissolved in carbon disulfide. Roll sulfur anna, this is the blocks of sulfur अथवा sticks of sulfur अथवा rods of sulfur. Sulfur, if it is in the form of rods or if it is in the form of sticks, that is called as roll sulfur. Roll sulfur is dissolved in carbon disulfide. We are going to get, yes, it is a solution of sulfur in carbon disulfide. Yes, solution of sulfur in, yes, it is in carbon disulfide. When it is warmed or heated, not to evaporate carbon disulfide in heat body, and all the carbon disulfide is removed by evaporation, you will left with, yes, it is alpha sulfur. Then you will left with the crystals of, yes, it is alpha sulfur अथवा rhombic sulfur. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ rhombic sulfur can be prepared by the evaporation of solution of roll sulfur in, yes, it is carbon disulfide. When the solution is heated, then carbon disulfide will be evaporated, leaving behind alpha sulfur. Roll sulfur na carbon disulfide dissolve ಮಾಡಿ ಆ solution ಅನ್ನು evaporate ಮಾಡಿ by heating. When the solution is heated, carbon disulfide solvent will be evaporated, then you will be left with, this, it is alpha sulfur. This is how alpha sulfur can be prepared. And I said this alpha sulfur is the most stable form of sulfur at room temperature. When this alpha sulfur is heated to, when this alpha sulfur, that is rhombic sulfur, when it is heated to above 369 kelvins, when it is heated above 369 kelvins, it will be converted to beta sulfur. One more allotropic form of sulfur. It is also called as monoclinic sulfur. Also called as monoclinic. ನಿಮಗೆ rhombic, monoclinic ಇವೆಲ್ಲ ಗೊತ್ತಲ್ವಾ? That is, these are the crystal systems, ಹೌದಾ? Different crystalline structures, ಹೌದಾ? When alpha sulfur is rhombic sulfur, when it is heated above 369 kelvins ಗೆ heat ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ, and it will be converted to beta sulfur, and of course it is monoclinic sulfur ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ. Okay na? And of course ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಏನರ್ಥ? And this beta sulfur is existing only above 369 kelvins. And when the temperature is decreased to, yes, it is below 369 kelvins. When the temperature is decreased to below 369 kelvins, ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ? Beta sulfur is converted to alpha sulfur. ಅಂದ್ರೆ alpha sulfur exists below 369 kelvins. Alpha sulfur exists below 369 kelvins, whereas beta sulfur exists above 369 kelvins. ಹಾಗಾದ್ರೆ at 369 kelvins, both are stable, both are at equilibrium to each other. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ 369 kelvins is equilibrium temperature for alpha sulfur and beta sulfur. ನೆನ್ಪಿಟ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ, 3, 6, 9, 3 1 3, 3 2 6, 3 3 9, ಹೌದಾ? 369 kelvins is transition temperature for alpha sulfur and beta sulfur. At this particular temperature, both are at equilibrium. Above 369 kelvins, alpha sulfur is converted to beta sulfur. below 369 Kelvin, beta sulfur will be converted to alpha sulfur. And of course, as far as monoclinic sulfur is concerned, yes, monoclinic sulfur will have a density 1.98 gram per cm cube. Yes, this is density of monoclinic sulfur, and its melting point is around 393 kelvins. Melting point of monoclinic sulfur is 393 kelvins. This is also soluble in carbon disulfide. ಇದು ಕೂಡ ಕಾರ್ಬನ್ ಡೈಸಲ್ಫೈಡ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕರಗುತ್ತೆ, ಆಮೇಲೆ ವಾಟರ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇನ್ಸಾಲ್ಯುಬಲ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಓಕೆನಾ? ಬಟ್ ಐ ವಾಂಟ್ ಟು ಹೈಲೈಟ್ ದ ಪ್ರಿಪರೇಷನ್ ಆಫ್ ಎಸಿಟಿಸ್ monoclinic sulfur now. Yes, how that preparation of acetic beta sulfur ಅಥವಾ monoclinic sulfur is brought about. In order to prepare beta sulfur, you need alpha sulfur. This alpha sulfur is melted first. Alpha sulfur is melted in a dish. China dish alli alpha sulfur na melt ಮಾಡಬೇಕಂದ್ರೆ it has to be heated to around 86 kelvins. 386 kelvins heat ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ it will be melted. Then thus molten sulfur you are going to get. Molten sulfur is obtained. Then this molten sulfur is cooled. Cool ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ then over the liquid sulfur one solid crust is formed. ಇದು ಲಿಕ್ವಿಡ್ ಸಲ್ಫರ್ ಬಂದಿರುತ್ತಲ್ಲ, ಅದನ್ನ ಕೂಲ್ ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ ಲಿಕ್ವಿಡ್ ಸರ್ಫೇಸ್ ಮೇಲೆ ಒಂದು ಸಾಲಿಡ್ ಕ್ರಸ್ಟ್ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಅಲ್ಲಿವರೆಗೂ ಕೂಲ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. ಏನಪ್ಪಾ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಹಾಲನ್ನ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ಹೀಟ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಕೂಲ್ ಮಾಡಿದ ತಕ್ಷಣ ಮೇಲ್ಗಡೆ ಕೆನೆ ಬರುತ್ತಾನೆ. ಅದೇ ತರ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಮೋಲ್ಟನ್ ಸಲ್ಫರ್ ಅನ್ನ ಹೀಟ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ಕೂಲ್ ಮಾಡಿದ ತಕ್ಷಣ ಆ ಕೂಲ್ ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ ಆ ಸರ್ಫೇಸ್ ಮೇಲೆ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಒಂದು ತರ ಕೆನೆ ತರ ಸಾಲಿಡ್ ಲೇಯರ್ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಅದನ್ನ ಕ್ರಸ್ಟ್ ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ. ಯು ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಮೇಕ್ ಅ ಹೋಲ್ ಇನ್ ದ ಕ್ರಸ್ಟ್. ಈ ಕ್ರಸ್ಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಹೋಲ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಲಿಕ್ವಿಡ್ ಸಲ್ಫರ್ ನ ರಿಮೂವ್ ಮಾಡಿ, ಈ ಕ್ರಸ್ಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಹೋಲ್ ಮಾಡಿಬಿಟ್ಟು ಲಿಕ್ವಿಡ್ ಸಲ್ಫರ್ ನ ರಿಮೂವ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಉಳಿದಂತ ಕ್ರಿಸ್ಟಲ್ಸ್ ಏನಿದೆಯಲ್ಲ, ಲಿಕ್ವಿಡ್ ಸಲ್ಫರ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ರಿಮೂವ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಏನ್ ಕ್ರಿಸ್ಟಲ್ಸ್ ಉಳಿಯುತ್ತಲ್ವಾ, those crystals are called as beta sulfurs. Those crystals are called as beta sulfurs. That is what we call it as preparation of beta sulfur from alpha sulfur. Alpha sulfur is melted to molten sulfur, then it is cooled till the crust is formed on the surface. And once the crust is formed, holes are created in the crust, holes are made in the crust, liquid sulfur is removed, remaining crystals of sulfur are called as beta sulfur. ಆ ಲಿಕ್ವಿಡ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ರಿಮೂವ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಉಳಿಯುತ್ತಲ್ವಾ ಆ ಕ್ರಿಸ್ಟಲ್ಸ್, ನೀಡ್ಲಿ ಶೇಪ್ಡ್ ಕ್ರಿಸ್ಟಲ್ಸ್ ಏನು ಉಳಿಯುತ್ತಲ್ವಾ, ದಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ಆಸ್ ಬೀಟಾ ಸಲ್ಫರ್ ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ. ಓಕೆನಾ? ನಾನು ಹೇಳಿದಾಗೆ ಬೀಟಾ ಸಲ್ಫರ್ ಎಕ್ಸಿಸ್ಟ್ ಅಬೌವ್ 369 kelvins. ಓಕೆನಾ? ಅಂಡ್ ಆಫ್ ಕೋರ್ಸ್ as far as alpha sulfur and beta sulfur is concerned, ನೋಡಿ alpha sulfur ಇದೆಯಲ್ಲ, that is in the form of monatomic form, diatomic form, tetratomic form, hexatomic form and octatomic form. These are the different forms of alpha sulfur. ಅದೇ beta sulfur ಇದೆಯಲ್ಲ, it is always in the form of octatomic form. ಅದು S8 ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾತ್ರ ಇರ್ತದೆ. ಯಾವುದು? ಬೀಟಾ ಸಲ್ಫರ್ ಅಥವಾ monoclinic sulfur. ಓಕೆನಾ? ಏನಪ್ಪ ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರಲ್ ಡಿಫರೆನ್ಸ್ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ, as far as alpha sulfur and beta sulfurs are concerned, and both are available in the form of it is S8 form ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಸಿಗುತ್ತೆ. ಹೌದಾ? And this S8 is in the form of it is cyclic ring of it is 8 sulfur atoms. It's a cyclic ring of 8 sulfur atoms. As far as the S8 molecule is concerned, it is available in the form of cyclic ring. Yes, puckered ring structure of it is puckered ring structure of it is sulfur. I am writing sulfur ಗಮನಿಸಿ. This is puckered ring structure of sulfur. Well, find this is 1 sulfur, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This is what we call it as puckered ring structure of sulfur, and of course this is it is puckered ring structure, that is puckered ring structure. ನಾನು ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ the S8 molecule, puckered S8 ring structure. Yes, it is found in monoclinic as well as rhombic, and each sulfur is characterized by 2 lone pairs on it. ಪ್ರತಿ ಸಲ್ಫರ್ ಆಟಮ್ ಮೇಲೆ ಏನಿದೆ, 2 ಲೋನ್ ಪೇರ್ಸ್ ಇರ್ತದೆ. ಎಸ್, ಅದನ್ನು ಗಮನಿಸಿ. ಓಕೆನಾ? ಅಪಾರ್ಟ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ದಟ್, this sulfur is available in the form of it is cyclo S6 form. This is cyclo S6. This is cyclo S6, where cyclic ring is characterized by 6 sulfur atoms. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is cyclo S6. This is chair form of acetic sulfur, we call it as. This is S6 molecule, cyclo S6 molecule. This is Packard S8 ring. This is observed in monoclinic as well as rhombic sulfur. Okay na? Okay na? And of course, as far as main difference between acetic monoclinic and acetic rhombic ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಗಮನಿಸಿ. acetic ನಾನು ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೆ 8 ಸಲ್ಫರ್ ಆಟಮ್ಸ್ ತಾನೆ. acetic 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 ಇದು ಒಂದು ಸಲ್ಫರ್ ಅಂತ ಇಟ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ. ಎಸ್ ಓಕೆನಾ. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡಿ, in the case of rhombic, the S8 rings will be arranged like this. S8 ring will be arranged like this. This is the packing of S8 molecules in the case of rhombic sulfur. ನೋಡಿ, packing is perfect. ಈ ತರ S8 molecules ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇದು ಆಲ್ಫಾ ಸಲ್ಫರ್ ಇದೆ. ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಆಲ್ಫಾ ಸಲ್ಫರ್. ಓಕೆನಾ. ಬೀಟಾ ಸಲ್ಫರ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡಿ, ಇಲ್ಲೂ ಕೂಡ S8 rings ಇರ್ತದೆ, ಇಲ್ಲೂ ಕೂಡ S8 rings ಇರ್ತದೆ. ಎಸ್, here also you will find S8 rings. ಇಲ್ಲೂ ಕೂಡ S8 rings ಇದೆ, ಬಟ್ those rings will be arranged in different manner. ನೋಡಿ, ಈ ತರ ಇದೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ. ನೋಡಿ, the arrangement ನೋಡಿ, there is no perfect packing here. ಹೌದಾ? ಪ್ಯಾಕಿಂಗ್ ಇಲ್ಲ ಇಲ್ಲಿ, ಕ್ಲೋಸ್ ಪ್ಯಾಕಿಂಗ್ ಇಲ್ಲ ಇಲ್ಲಿ. ಹೌದಾ? ಈ ತರ ಇದೆ. ಎಸ್, ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಲೇಯರ್ ಹೇಗಿರ್ತದೆ, ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಓಕೆ, ಈ ತರ ಇರ್ತದೆ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಲೇಯರ್. ಎಸ್, ಈ ತರ ಇರ್ತದೆ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಲೇಯರ್. ಲುಕ್ ಎಟ್ ದಿಸ್, ದ ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್ ಲೇಯರ್ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ಲೈಕ್ ದಿಸ್. ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ S8. ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ವಾಟ್ ವಿ ಕಾಲ್ ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಬೀಟಾ ಸಲ್ಫರ್. ಇದು ಇಲ್ಲೇ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗುತ್ತೆ ನಿಮಗೆ, ರೈಟ್? There is a perfect packing. Close packing is very high in the case of alpha sulfur, but extent of close packing is less here in the case of beta sulfur. Therefore, the density of alpha sulfur is 0.8 gram per cm cube. Beta sulfur is 1.98 gram per cm cube. Because of that, there is a difference in densities. Where there is a extent of close packing is very, very large. Here, extent of close packing is less. Because of that, this alpha sulfur is opaque, but this is little bit transparent because of the gaps there. ಈ ಗ್ಯಾಪ್ಸ್ ಇರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಪರೆಂಟ್ ಆಗಿರ್ತದೆ. ಯಾವುದು? ಬೀಟಾ ಸಲ್ಫರ್. ಇದು ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಪರೆನ್ಸಿ ಕಡಿಮೆ, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಒಪೇಕ್ ಇರ್ತದೆ. ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ವಾಟ್ ವಿ ಕಾಲ್ ಇಟ್ as ಮೇಜರ್ ಡಿಫರೆನ್ಸ್ ಬಿಟ್ವೀನ್ ಎಸಿಡ್ ಇಸ್ ಆಲ್ಫಾ ಸಲ್ಫರ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಬೀಟಾ ಸಲ್ಫರ್. ನೆನ್ಪಿಟ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ. ಅದನ್ನ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಕನ್ವಿನ್ಸ್ ಆಗಬೇಕು ಅಂದ್ರೆ ನಾನೊಂದು ಮಾಡೆಲ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೀನಿ. ಎಸ್, ಲೆಟ್ ಮಿ ಶೋ ಯು ದೋಸ್ ಮಾಡೆಲ್ಸ್. ರೈಟ್? ನೋಡಿ, ಈ ಮಾಡೆಲ್ಸ್ ಬಳಸ್ಕೊಂಡು ನಾನು ಈ ಪಕ್ಕಡ್ ರಿಂಗ್ ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರ್ ನ ಕನ್ವಿನ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಪ್ರಯತ್ನ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ. ಗಮನಿಸಿ ಈ ಮಾಡೆಲ್ ಅನ್ನ. ಎಸ್, ಕಾಣುತ್ತೆ ಅನ್ಕೋತೀನಿ ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ, ರೈಟ್? ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡಿ, ಇಲ್ಲೊಂದು ಸಲ್ಫರ್ ಇದೆ, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. ಹೌದಾ? ಟೋಟಲ್ ಈ ತರನೇ ಇರ್ತದೆ ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರ್. ಎಸ್, ಇಲ್ಲೇನು ಬಂದಿನಲ್ಲ, ಇದು ಪಕ್ಕಡ್ ರಿಂಗ್ ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರ್ ಈ ತರನೇ ಇದೆ. ಎಸ್, ನೋಡಿ, ಇದನ್ನ ನೀವು ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ನೀಟಾಗಿ ನೋಡ್ಬೇಕು ನೀವು ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ. ಎಸ್, ನೋಡಿ, ಈ ತರ ಪ್ಲೇಸ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಲುಕ್ ಅಟ್ ದಿಸ್, ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ look at this. This is Packard ring structure of S8 molecule. Okay na? Yes. ನೋಡಿ, ಇಲ್ಲೊಂದಿದೆ ಆಟಮ್ ಸಲ್ಫರ್. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 ಸಲ್ಫರ್ ಆಟಮ್ಸ್ ಇದೆ. ಓಕೆನಾ? ನಾನು ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೆ, ಇನ್ ದ ಕೇಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಎಸಿಟಿಸ್ ಆಲ್ಫಾ ರೋಂಬಿಕ್ ಸಲ್ಫರ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡಿ ಈ ತರ ಪ್ಯಾಕಿಂಗ್ ಇರ್ತದೆ. ನೋಡಿ, ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ನೋಡಿ, ಈ ತರ ಪ್ಯಾಕಿಂಗ್ ಇರ್ತದೆ. ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ look at this, ಈ ತರ ಕ್ಲೋಸ್ ಪ್ಯಾಕಿಂಗ್ ಇರ್ತದೆ. ಎಕ್ಸ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಪ್ಯಾಕಿಂಗ್ ಇಸ್ ವೆರಿ ವೆರಿ ಹೈ. ಅದೇ ಮೋನೋಕ್ಲಿನಿಕ್ ಆದ್ರೆ ನೋಡಿ ಈ ತರ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಮೋನೋಕ್ಲಿನಿಕ್ ಆದ್ರೆ ಈ ತರ ಇರ್ತದೆ. ನೋಡಿ, ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಹೌ ಮೋನೋಕ್ಲಿನಿಕ್ ಮಾಲಿಕ್ಯೂಲ್ಸ್ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ಪ್ಯಾಕ್ಡ್. ನೋಡಿ, ಇದು ಒಂದು ಲೇಯರ್, 2 ಲೇಯರ್ಸ್ ಆದ್ರೆ ಇದು ಇದೆಲ್ಲಿದೆ ಆಲ್ಫಾ ಸಲ್ಫರ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಅಥವಾ ರೋಂಬಿಕ್ ಸಲ್ಫರ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ. ಬೀಟಾ ಸಲ್ಫರ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಉಲ್ಟಾ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ನೋಡಿ ಈ ತರ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಹೌ that is packing is taking place in acetic monoclinic there. Because of that, there is a gap there, is it not? Therefore its density is less. This is what monoclinic sulfur ಅಥವಾ beta sulfur. Okay na? ಇದೇನಿದು alpha sulfur. ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಹೇಳಿದೆ, that is S6 molecule. ಅದನ್ನು ಕೊಡಿ ನೋಡಿ. This is S6 molecule. Yes, look at this. This is S6 molecule. 1 2 3 4 5 6 ಆಟಮ್ಸ್ ಇದೆ. 4 ಆಟಮ್ಸ್ ಒಂದು ಪ್ಲೇನ್ ಇದೆ, ಹೌದಾ? ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಮೇಲೆ ಇದೆ, ಇಲ್ಲೊಂದು ಕೆಳಗಿದೆ. ನೋಡಿ ಈ ತರ ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಲೈಕ್ ಎ ಚೇರ್. ನೋಡಿ, ದಟ್ಸ್ ವೈ ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ಎಸ್ ಚೇರ್ ಫಾರ್ಮ್. ಇದನ್ನ ಅಂತ ಕರೀತಾರೆ, ಚೇರ್ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಅಂತ ಕರೀತಾರೆ. ಇಲ್ಲೊಂದು ಕೆಳಗಿದೆ, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಮೇಲಿದೆ. ಒಂದು ಪ್ಲೇನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ 4 ಆಟಮ್ಸ್ ಇದೆ, ಟೋಟಲ್ 6 ಆಟಮ್ಸ್. ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ವಾಟ್ ವಿ ಕಾಲ್ ಚೇರ್ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಆಫ್ ಎಸಿಡಿಸ್. ಎಸ್ 6 ಮಾಲಿಕ್ಯೂಲ್. ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ವಾಟ್ ವಿ ಕಾಲ್ ಇಟ್ ಎಸ್ ಚೇರ್ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಅಂತ ಕರೀತಾರೆ. ಆಗ್ಬೋದಲ್ಲ? ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ವಾಟ್ ವಿ ಕಾಲ್ ಇಟ್ ಎಸ್ different forms of acidic sulfur there. So this is what we call it as sulfur. Okay, na? And its allotropic forms. We discussed the preparation of sulfur also, alpha sulfur as well as beta sulfur. In the next video, we'll see compounds of sulfur. Under that, we have sulfuric acid, sulfur dioxide, properties and preparation. Okay, na? And that completes the 16 group complete ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. Next video ದಲ್ಲಿ group 16 complete ಮಾಡಿಬಿಟ್ಟು group 17 ಹೋಗ್ತೀನಿ. ಆಗ್ಬೋದಾ? We'll see in the next video. Okay, na? Thank you, right?